Welcome to the Live Alone podcast, the podcast where two nerds who consume a whole lot of horror discuss their favorite pieces of horror media. From movies and TV shows to video games, novels, and everything in between. Because this is a spooky world, and we're just thriving in it. I'm your host, Sarah, the survivalist in your slasher friend group that will put up a lasting fight, but inevitably die because only the final girl can survive.
And I'm your host, Ian, the fearless fighter in your slasher friend group that tries to save the day, but ends up dying because physical strength just doesn't win in horror.
Alright, in today's episode, we're talking about the remake, sequel, Requel as we're calling it. We're basically talking about Scream from 2022. We figured it'd be a good time right after our minds are fresh from discussing the original Scream from 1996 to chat about the recent installment that not only pays very close homage to the original, while also taking the franchise to a modern but loyal territory. And yes, we know there's a more recent addition to the franchise from earlier this year, but we'll wait to discuss that when we speak more about Scream 2, because they kind of correlate. So let's start off by doing a brief synopsis of Scream from 2022. So basically 25 years after a streak of brutal murders shocked the quiet town of Woodsboro, California, which, by the way, we weren't sure if Woodsboro was in a fictional town last time, but now we are confirming that it is definitely in California. And a new killer dons the Ghostface mask and begins targeting a group of teenagers to resurrect secrets from the town's deadly past. So, long story short, we're doing another round of Ghostface killing a bunch of teens, but this time around, like we said before, it's paying a very close homage to, that's such a weird word, very close homage to to the original movie from 1996. So there's like clear correlations between the two, and that is like the point thing that you need to keep in mind when you're watching this one after watching all of the other Scream movies. But before we kick things off, before we start our little discussion on the movie, we're gonna play a round of Stab or Survive, which is my rendition of this or that. I'm gonna be asking Ian basically stab or survive to a handful of characters from this particular movie, not from the other Scream movies, or maybe there's some overlap, but particularly from Scream 2022. So you have to pick, Ian. You have to pick if you're going to stab or let the character survive.
Oh, so kill them off or let them live?
Basically.
All right, let's go.
All right. So first person, Tara.
I'll let her survive.
Okay.
You want to know why?
No, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. This is a speed round.
Okay.
All right. Next person, Sam.
She's going to have to survive. I hesitated.
Okay.
I'm just like, all right, just let her live.
All right. Next person, Chad.
Of course, yeah, survive.
Okay. So far, we're letting everybody live here. Next is Mindy.
Oh, survive.
Okay. And last person, Dewey.
Survive.
Okay,
Listen,
so basically you want everybody to live.
I want everybody to live, but I want them to live in an epic way.
Okay.
Or prove themselves.
All right. So you're the optimist.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, people gotta get killed, but people around them could get killed.
I would definitely be more brutal than you, but you know what?
So who would you
I mean, I'm not... I have choice words for certain characters, but we'll get into the discussion now. That's perfect segue. But let's talk about why we picked this piece of content. We obviously know that we're talking about Scream. We're big Scream fans. The first episode was about the original, and I feel like this one needed to come immediately afterward because, you know, everybody's thinking about Scream from 1996. We made so many references in that episode, so I feel like this one coming right afterward is going to
play off of it. Basically.
So when we first saw this, it was in... We saw
1996.
it. We saw it in the theater, right?
Yeah, when we first saw this movie, we actually went to the theater, yeah.
And it had been a really long time since we went to the theater.
Pandemic time.
Yeah, and we ended up going on a really quiet day because there was basically nobody else in the theater when we went to see it. I think we waited a couple of weeks. So we basically had the whole theater to ourselves when we saw this one.
Wait, did we wait a couple of weeks? I think we saw it the first night.
No, we waited a couple of weeks because it was so busy.
It was so busy. Yeah, we were not busy, but we didn't want to go into the rush.
That's the pros of modern day being able to schedule and like what seats you want when you go to the theater. You can see how full it is before you actually get there, which I I'm a personal big fan of that. But yeah, we saw it in the theater. We had to, of course.
We had the reclining seats. It was
reclining seats. It was a good time. I had a very good time.
Yeah, it was a good experience again. It was weird. It was like, oh, we're going back to the movie theater.
Yeah,
it was fun because it was like Scream from 1996, and now you're seeing like a Scream. Actually, Scream. I never seen it. Did you ever see a Scream in a theater or no?
I mean, yeah, I saw Scream 4.
Oh yeah, I did see Scream 4. But when you go after all the stuff that happened and we finally went to go see it, I was like, it felt like a good milestone.
There's like a level of excitement when you are such a huge fan of a franchise and you get to see a new rendition of it. You're kind of sitting there and the lights go dim and then the movie starts and you're like, oh my god, this is so freaking epic. And it started in a really intense way. Let's just get this out there. This new Requel, this new era of the Scream franchise, there's like a level of fun that came with the original 3, but these new movies are dark, they're intense, they're violent as hell, and it's like true horror. Like these are actually pretty darn scary in comparison to the first 3. At least I think so.
Yeah, because it's like all these new movies that you see that are all violent, you're like, I don't know if they were trying to compare it, but they were definitely using like getting that rated R level and using the guts.
Yeah.
And the blood.
It was very violent, and it was very like forwardly violent. Like you will see some of the stab scenes in the original movies and you're like, okay, it's kind of like off the screen, but in these movies it's head on and it's multiple times. It's so direct. It's like, oh my god, you almost wince when you're watching it. It's so dark in that way. Obviously a huge reason why we love this particular Requel. I don't even know how to refer to it because there's so many movies and then there's like a whole new branch of it. But anyway, I think the biggest reason why I liked this movie is because it references the original so much. I would honestly say it's almost a carbon copy of the original movie from 1996. There are scenes that are almost exactly like the 1996 edition. So for example, there is a scene where the teens are at school and, you know, on the overhead speaker, the principal says that the school is going to be closing early because of the string of murders, and the teenagers are sitting at like a picnic table and they're talking about the murders. That is a scene that is almost directly from the 1996 one, and there are just so many other instances of carbon copy type of scenes that are in this new movie. And I will also say, fun fact, because we just recently watched a YouTube video on this, the principal on the overhead speaker is actually Drew Barrymore, right?
Yep, and they use the same music too throughout the...
Oh yeah, they use the same music. Yeah.
I mean, if you saw this movie, do you have to see the first one to see this? Like, think about it. If you weren't a fan and you never saw the Scream movie. I
think if I wasn't a fan of the original and I saw this for the first time, this might be me at a young age, as a young teenager. This might be like my new favorite movie because it's definitely modernized. It's definitely appealing to this new generation. As someone who watched the 1996 one, and that one was part of my generation and my upbringing, I feel a little bit kind of like of a resentment towards it. But no, I think it makes sense that younger generations really, really love this one. Yeah. What do you think?
If I never saw the other ones, there's some parts that you would not get. Because you're like, what are they trying to say? Because they do that thing that they pause, and they're like, okay.
Like it's a bit. Like it's a bit. Like you get it.
Yeah, and then they say stuff. I mean, I would say, since we're such movie enthusiasts, I would see the first one before I see this.
Yeah, and the other good thing about this movie is because they reference the original characters. I'm pretty sure they're called the legendary characters.
Yeah, because they're from the original.
They reference them in this movie, and of course the main 3 legendary characters are in this movie as well. So I feel like it will almost entice people who are watching this movie, the 2022 one, for the first time, to go ahead and watch the 1996 one either afterwards or before, because you're going to want to know all of those references. The movie makes you want to be in on the joke almost, because it's basically, it relies on all of those insider jokes, I think.
Wait, you said 3? There's 4.
There's
legendary 4? Loomis.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. I'm okay. Like literal physical legendary characters. There's a funky thing going on with Billy Loomis, who's the OG killer from 1996, that's happening in this 2022 one and possibly the next round of series. and it's interesting.
Yeah, but this movie is actually funny. It has like funny parts because it adds stuff like when you're in high school, like jokes that they go back and forth. And there's like, remember the joke when they were making out on the couch, and then he's like, he didn't want to have sex with her. And that was a fun. Everybody in the theater was laughing. He didn't want to have sex with his girlfriend because he was like, I think you're the killer. Yeah. So it's like they were all going back and forth like, I think you're the killer. So, but it was in funny ways.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think there were some parts where it was like genuinely funny, such as that. I think that was like good humor, and it definitely plays into the satire of this entire genre of the Scream series. There were some funny parts where I was like, okay, this is extremely forced. And I think a lot of it, as much as I love Mindy's character, and we'll talk about the characters soon, but Mindy had a lot of overly forced humor bits because she was kind of assigned to be that person, to be the funny one, but also the smart one. Basically the Randy equivalent, but unfortunately Randy was
too funny.
He was just naturally funny, and I think Mindy's character, not Mindy the actress, was a little bit forced, and I kind of feel that vibe from several characters. What about you?
It was like a dry humor, like she would say something and be all serious.
Yeah.
But you're expecting to laugh, but you're like, okay.
But it's like some parts where she would like go down into the basement, or no, the garage, where she and Amber, like she tested Amber.
Yeah.
And I thought like, okay, yeah, it was funny that she was testing her, but it was a little bit too much.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
Like
weirdo. Like you would like
I get it. I get the joke. You're trying to reference the original with Tatum being in the garage getting beers, but it wasn't that funny. At least that was my opinion.
Yeah.
And Richie.
But like you were saying, carbon copy.
Yeah, they were definitely trying really, really hard to make carbon copies of certain scenes, and maybe to its detriment, maybe to its benefit. I feel like some did really, really well, and some maybe not so much.
Okay, let's say that for the dislike.
Okay.
All right. It is comforting, and there is nostalgia when you watch it. The first time we saw it in the theater, I was saying this movie is crap, and then you were like, no, I liked it. It was pretty good. But then we saw it again.
There was a certain...
Yeah, we saw it again, and then I was just like, see? But we'll talk about this just now. But it was comforting. I was glad to see it back again, and I knew that there was going to be a sequel. So I'm happy that they made the movie.
Yeah.
But in a way, I'm like, the parts that I like in the movie is how it's like modern. How like, you know, when you watch a movie and like back in '96, you were like, oh, there's phones, like landlines, and there's no like internet like that. But now I'm like, how are they gonna make it? How are they gonna make the movie with cell phones and alarm systems? But they put the landline in the movie, so I was like, oh shit.
They did really well.
Yeah, they did pretty good, and it was scary. we're not saying it's not scary. Like to be in that situation, to be in that situation.
Yeah, it was definitely scary, and I feel like what you think when you're talking about the technology, it was an interesting thing to see also in Scream 4, and obviously we're not going to talk about Scream 4 here, but there was also a technology thing going on there with the texting in the movies and social media then. And in this movie, they made it a little less tongue-in-cheek when it comes to being like, this is a movie, look at us, we're in a movie talking about movies, and more of like, okay, I can lock my door from an app. Like, that's real, a little bit more realistic. They totally upped their, like, production game with this movie. That was good, yeah. It was, like, super high production. Everything was super high quality, I feel like. It was just, like, good, you know?
You could see the glitter off Gold's faces. The whole time watching the movie, I'm like, look at that glitter, look at that glitter.
What was that? Was it just a fabric?
Yeah, it was a fabric. I think they were trying to use the original suit. I think even now, the suit that I have, is it
glittery?
I'm Ghostface. Ghostface.
Ian has a Ghostface costume. I don't think it glitters, though, to be...
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta check.
Another really great thing that we don't see in many of the Scream movies in the past is that this cast is extremely, extremely diverse. And I just feel like that should be acknowledged here, that, like, they really branched out, and not only did they turn it modern, not only did they, you know, use the technology aspect of it really well, but they did well in terms of diversity. Like, there was a lot of different characters that are not just of, like, different ethnic backgrounds, but, like, there's a queer main character, which is really great to see and stuff like that. So I was just happy to see that. Another thing that was really, really great to see is the dynamic between David Arquette and Courtney Cox, who are Dewey Riley and Gale Weathers, two legendary characters.
Legendary.
Yeah, they come back in this movie, of course, alongside Sidney Prescott. And I really, really like their dynamic here because not only is it very realistic in terms of like the characters, and the characters were going through a lot. They were struggling a lot throughout the entire series, but it also reflects reality a little bit. And there are a lot of interviews where David Arquette says exactly that. It's so close to reality. And I just, as someone who's been super committed to the series and super committed to the characters and the actors and the actresses, I felt a type of way seeing that. Like, not only did it play into the nostalgia, but it also played into just us as like really diehard fans to be able to see them play out that kind of interesting dynamic that they have on camera. It plays on the camera on a deeper level, and as a fan, as you like know what they went through in real life, it just feels like a little bit personal.
Yeah, there's actually character development in this. It's not like you'll see a horror movie and then you'll see a horror movie and this is like this person is killed this one. That's it.
Yeah, that's actually a good point when you think about like the horror genre. Like sometimes all of the characters are so flat, but these characters have been able to grow and develop, and you actually really, really like them as time goes on. Let's talk about the core characters. Okay. So the core characters are basically it's four.
The core four.
The core four. That's what we're calling it, right? It's the four new characters that are introduced in this requel, as we know is going to continue on in other movies. And the four core characters are Tara, Sam, Chad, and Mindy. Tara is basically the sibling of Sam, and Tara is basically the one who like kick-started the movie almost, because she gets attacked by Ghostface right in the beginning of the movie. Sam is Tara's sister who ventured out. I don't know where she actually moved out to, but she moved away so that she can get away from Woodsboro. And then she comes back to the small town because, of course, her sister gets attacked. They have like a really deep family history between Sam and Tara. Of course, they're sisters, but Sam is also the child, the love child between whoever it was in high school and Billy Loomis. So Billy Loomis is Sam's dad.
Sam Loomis.
And then we have Chad and Mindy, who are siblings as well. So they're twins, and they are the friends of Tara. And they essentially, they're related to Randy from the original trilogy. They are their niece and nephew. Mm-hmm. And so there's just a lot of lineage going on from the original into the core characters.
And somehow it's not that corny. It's like,
yeah, like that little like, history, the family history and backstory is actually not corny. Maybe the Sam part is a little corny. But yeah, they have family lineages from friends from high school from the original, and now they're friends in modern time.
Who was Billy with?
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
I mean, it's a good thing they did it. It's a clever way that they did it, but I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
But it shows you how much of a dirtbag he is.
Well, we were watching a YouTube video where it was implied that he cheated on Sydney in order to have this child who ends up being Sam.
Oh yeah, because Sydney didn't want to.
Because of the whole timeline situation.
And she didn't want to have sex with him for a while, so he's like,
yeah, as if that's a valid reason. But yeah, so that's basically who these core characters are and how they're connected to the original, and how they are connected to one another as friends and family members.
Chad is supposed to be like he's like a combination of characters. He's supposed to be like the jock because he is like big, and and you can see that he works out and stuff, and he's playing football.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he doesn't really. I mean, he does fight hard in the movie like a jock would.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's nerdy because he's smart, just like his uncle.
Yeah.
Randy.
Yeah. And
he is funny too. And yeah. He does get stabbed in this multiple times.
Yes. Yes. He has, yeah, you're right. He does have like a combination of a lot of things. He's definitely brute force, but he's also a little nerdy. He has a lot of like, his nerdiness comes from his Uncle Randy, right? Like he knows the rules of horror, and that kind of like rubs off on him from his sister Mindy, but also he's obviously related to Randy.
Which is cool because it's like you can't do that anymore. Like it's not like the 80s anymore.
Yeah, there's not like they're not stereotyped.
Yeah, that's why
they are dynamic, which is super cool.
Yeah, the characters are.
Yeah, I like Chad. I think he's funny, And I think he's funny in a way that's less in your face than Mindy, to be honest. Although I do love Mindy, but I like Chad.
Mindy is, I think she probably is one of the best characters.
I like Mindy.
I like how the way that she like explains stuff and she's like pointing it and like telling you like this is like she's trying to get it through your brain like this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, where did she learn this?
She learned it from Randy.
Yeah.
She learned it from being related to Randy, which is so funny to me. I think Mindy is the closest. Once again, the way that we talked about Randy in that he's the closest to us as viewers and lovers of horror. I think Mindy is that same person. She's also the closest to us. So she, not only does she have all of that horror knowledge that she's basically, I don't know, gotten through blood from Randy, but she's also like you said, she's in your face. She's like us watching the movie and saying, are you dumb? Do you not see that X, Y, and Z is blah blah blah? Like she is us internally.
I think she's even better than Chad. She's always telling Chad like look out, like she's looking out for him, you know?
Yeah, she's like the most practical.
She basically is Randy.
She's the most, and you know what? I've also noticed when we did the rewatch of this this movie, she is the one that is telling you what's going to happen. Just like Randy did when Randy was like, Billy's the killer. The dad's a red herring. She's also in the movie saying like, you're going to be the killer and you're going to survive and you're not going to survive. And it happens.
It does happen, but it's like you don't want to believe her because it's like... What?
But that's the other thing where it's like, there are carbon copies of certain things going on from the original onto this one. And I like it in Mindy. She's just a personable character and you want to like her. And so you do. Like, she just has a lot of personality. And it also is a plus that she's queer. And she adds that into the plot as well. And it's funny and it's great.
Tara is... She was the first person that you see in the movie. And, I mean, is she that... Like, does she like horror movies too? Or is she just like a regular everyday... kid in like high school and she just watches horror movies?
Well, she was saying that she's kind of like putting herself as the posh horror kind of watcher. Like she likes the refined, subtle kind of horror. She says her favorite movie is The Babadook, right?
Yeah.
And she has a whole spiel when she's talking to Ghostface about like, oh, I don't like slashers. Those are just, you know, flashy, not any kind of dynamic situations going on in those movies. She likes deeper horror.
How did they make her into a horror character? Just because she's related to Sam?
Well, she's related to Sam. And...
I think that's it. And then she just gets hurt and Sam has to save her.
There's got to be something else. I mean, no. Well, she's friends. That is Sam's direct correlation with the other teenagers is because those are Tara's friends. So she's basically connecting Sam, who is her sister, to all of her friends.
So basically when they hurt Tara... Sam has to come rescue her.
She's kind of like the middle ground.
So she's they're like, that's why, because when the ghost faces are hurting her, Sam is always there to. So it's probably she is using her as bait.
That kind of sucks if you think about it that way.
She got wrecked in that movie.
She was really mad at Sam, and now I kind of get it now that we phrased it that way.
She was mad at Sam because Sam should have told her. Then she would have probably protected herself better.
Yeah, but I also get Sam's perspective as well. But I will say, Tara is not my favorite of the core. I think the twins are my favorite. Tara, I don't know. There's just nothing that really links me to her where I'm kind of like, yeah, go Tara. She's just...
Yeah, she's just there.
Although I'm sure, like, she's got to be somebody's favorite.
Yeah, everybody who's watching Wednesday.
I guess. I don't know.
I mean, they could have... I'm not mad that she's in the movie. She did a good job, but I'm like, what is she there for?
I mean, we know why she's there. She's part of the core.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, what kind of character is she? She's not...
Like we said, like, all of the characters are pretty dynamic. They have, like, a lot of layers to them. I think for Tara, she's sort of like the younger sister. She's kind of falling under the shadow of Sam in this situation, and she wants to be a free spirit. She wants to do her own thing. She's been left alone for most of her life, and then next thing you know it, your sister is suddenly there, and she's always there, and everybody's always there, so it's kind of becoming overbearing for her. She's kind of just like thrown into a bunch of situations, and she's just got to figure it out.
Also, she's like us, like if you get thrown into this horror shit.
I guess it's like she didn't ask for any of this, so and now she's in it. All right, Sam, and we should also say Sam's name is Sam Carpenter.
Samantha Carpenter.
How did she get the last name Carpenter?
Because John Carpenter.
I mean, I get the horror reference. I just don't get her last name reference. But anyway, so Tara and Sam are not like... They don't have the same father. They have different fathers. and Tara's dad is still in the picture. I'm pretty sure.
But he's not in the movie. Or
he's
her
not
mother,
in the movie.
Or
the
the
mom's
mother.
not in the movie. But Sam's dad is Billy.
Yeah, and then Billy shows up in her dream. That's the weird part. How Billy shows up in her mind.
Yeah.
But only after she found out that Billy was... Anyways, so she is... Her character, I didn't like her character.
You don't like her at all?
I didn't see anything good with her in the movie. I think they just put her in there to link it back to Billy.
I think
She's
she
not
needed to be in the movie because
Yeah.
her boyfriend is the killer.
Oh, yeah.
One of the killers. And also, she is the direct tie between, like, Billy Loomis and, like, that whole lineage and that whole storyline and Tara. Her direct lineage to Billy Loomis is what makes her a special character. And like I said before, there's got to be something going on with Billy Loomis in this new series, in this new Requel set of movies, for that to be important. Like, they wouldn't just put that fact in for no reason.
Yeah.
And they definitely wouldn't put scenes of him, of Skeet, in the movie if it weren't for a really, really particular reason. And that
Something
plays
that-
into, like, my theory that I have. Something's got to be super big about her and about Billy and how that ends up tying up later. We don't know yet. But I will say, Sam as a character, I do not like her at all.
Because of the acting? No.
I mean, her acting isn't great, at least in my opinion, and then probably in your opinion as well. But I just don't like her character. I feel like she's overbearing in some ways, and then she throws her insecurities onto Tara a lot, and I just feel like she's kind of not thrown, but she's kind of gotten all of these people into a lot of mess.
Into a mess?
Even though it's obviously not her fault. I just feel like, I don't know, she handles things really badly, in my opinion.
So basically she can't really be the main character because it's just a bunch of characters, which is...
It's more evenly
which is kind of new.
distributed.
It's kind of new in a horror.
I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. And
it's fine, yeah.
I'm sure people are going to really, really love Tara and Sam for particular reasons. And if you do, by the way, let us know on social, on liveralonepod, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. But I think for us, our favorites definitely go to the twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
All right, now this is the good part.
So let's talk about what we dislike about this movie. Now, let me just say here, I was watching this movie in the theaters and I had a gigantic smile on my face the entire time because I was enjoying it so much. And then this one scene happened and I literally wanted to get up and leave and never watch this movie ever again. I swear to you, I didn't want to watch this again when we had to rewatch it for this podcast, but I watched it. I think I've recovered, but I will never get over them killing Dewey.
Yeah, you even hit me in the theater. You're like, I was like, you want to leave?
I was sobbing. Oh,
yeah,
and I
heard you crying.
I wasn't even sobbing throughout that scene. I was sobbing for several scenes afterwards. I just could not wrap my head around it. After watching 4 other movies, and Dewey is just he's legendary. He has to be there always. He doesn't die. You don't kill the legendary characters. After they did that, I wrote this movie off as like, nope, this is not legit in my book. This is not part of the series. This is just, I'm just going to pretend like this movie doesn't exist when that happened.
Yeah, the way that he got killed, it was like he went back to get killed. And I'm like, Dewey, you're smarter than that. You're one of the smartest ones. Why?
In such a dumb way, and the way that they set it up made it imply that it had to be Amber, which was the smaller of the 2 killers that we had here. The other killer was Richie, and obviously it wasn't Richie because Richie was physically there.
I think they're trying to trick you. Obviously they got to trick you, but I'm like, why would you kill Dewey?
It just didn't make sense. It didn't make logical sense, and it just doesn't make sense for the franchise. Why would you get rid of one of the best characters? Yeah. You grow to love Dewey so much. And okay, I get it. You want to hit the fans where it hurts the most. So you killed one of the legendary characters. Why did it have to be Dewey though? That's just my opinion.
Who else would have been?
It could have been Ember, yeah. I know it couldn't be Sydney. Sydney is the final girl. Yeah. I don't want to be mean, but I would have been a little bit better.
If it was Gale Weathers?
It was Gale, to be honest.
Yeah, because Gale was kind of selfish in all the movies.
I like Gale. But if it's a ranking of the 3 of them, Sydney's on top, Dewey's second, and Gale's at the bottom. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I believe you. A stamp of approval.
Okay. I'm glad. I'm not the only one. I'm glad because that I will never get over it. Anyway, another thing that I disliked about this movie was that the killers were not pretty. They were very predictable. I will say that I guessed both of them at the beginning of the movie.
I did not, but I mean, they sort of made what's his name, Richie. They made him look like an idiot, so I was just like, he's acting a little bit too dumb. But I was like, yeah, I'm like, I didn't even. That's the thing, I didn't really care for his character.
You're right.
Why do they always do that? They're like, oh, don't even care about this person.
That's true.
Yeah.
They made him so dull.
Yeah, dull.
That you kind of almost predicted it happening, which is what I predicted that it was him just because they were carbon copying the original. I figured it would be the boyfriend, but they didn't give him much personality. If you think about it, he was just like the dude that was tagging along and watching the Scream movies or Stab movies in the hotel.
Yeah, and then her friend. I didn't understand why her friend would do that.
Amber.
Like that's one of your best friends. You just got closer so you could do that. That didn't make sense at all. Like,
I guess it was Amber because she was very, very protective and loving over Tara, and I figured that she would have resentment towards Sam because she abandoned Tara. So I thought, oh, okay, she has resentment, she has anger, she has rage. She's going to use that as sort of like her motive to be a killer. So that's why I guess it was her. And in that way, you do see it. You do see it throughout the movie that Amber kind of throws shade at Sam. And she's like, you don't get it? Like, you don't see that she needs her inhaler? You're never around. Now you're here with your boyfriend, da-da-da-da. So it was kind of, there were kind of little hints here and there that made me think it. I will also say, if we're doing the direct comparison between the original killers and these killers, Richie is nowhere near Billy. Or Stu. And I think Amber was supposed to be like the equivalent of Stu, and she absolutely sucked at it.
She tried too hard.
She tried so hard. She tried to be like that really like psycho killer, and it just did not work. And I don't think anybody can ever compete with Stu. We've talked about that already, but she just did it way over the top.
Yeah,
in a bad way.
The way that this guy acted was... The way that this guy Stu acted was just classic. And then when she was trying, you're just like, nah, you can't do that. You can't. Try. You can't like try.
Borderline cringe.
Try. Yeah, I was just like vomit. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, I already mentioned it, but I will say that there were some parts that were just too on the nose. I've talked about it before. Examples with Mindy going down into the garage, carbon copies of scenes. Some of them were just a bit too forced.
Lines.
Repeating exact lines. Music, like some of the soundtrack being played at the exact same time it was being played in the original movie. Like, I get it, you're trying to play to the super fans, but you don't have to like literally copy and paste.
They had the song, one of the songs when the guy was taking a whiz on the wall, and then he killed him with the song on.
Yeah, it was like a little bit too much.
The one thing I want to say is how the acting sucked really bad. Like like it sucks so bad. Like
not all of it.
Not all of it. Obviously not the legendary characters. They all acted great. It was when the new characters came out, like the new actors, they were just like I don't think Mindy and Chad acted bad though.
I think they were pretty good.
They were pretty good, yeah.
Not too bad.
They weren't too bad, but it wasn't like as soon as you saw Tara, like you have the main characters Tara and Sam, and then you just see like they say something, you're just like you don't see the heart in it. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Like
with
they're
Tara
forced.
And Sam.
Yeah, they're forced to talk.
All in all, I will say that it was a good movie. I have my opinions about how I feel about the legendary characters and one being killed off, and that's why I'm kind of like writing it off as not great of a movie. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't like amazing. I honestly feel like when we rewatched it for the reason of doing this podcast, that I actually like it less than Scream 4. And when I first saw it in the theater, I thought that I liked it more than Scream 4, but I actually put it behind that now rewatching it, because when you watch it a second time, and I feel like my true horror fans or my true Scream fans, if you went and you watched it in the theater and you're like, oh my god, this was actually really, really great, I encourage you to watch it again, because the first time around you're just hit with all the nostalgia that you're like, oh my god, this is so good. But when you watch it the second time, you realize that it's a little cheesy to a point where
you don't want to watch it again.
It's not actually that great. And maybe Scream 4 had a little bit more character than this one, and this one was just a little bit too much of a copy and paste. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, even if you look on IMDb, when I first saw the movie, I saw all the stars. It had like a 7, and now when you go on it has like a 5 to 6.
Oh wow!
So
I didn't know that.
people did see it again. Now that it's re-released.
Definitely watch this one and let us know what you think. Like, what are your opinions on this? And if you're somebody that's watching the Scream series for the first time and this is like your first one, let us know what you think about it too, because I'm sure we're gonna all have different perspectives on this one.
Now, the way that the movie is going, obviously, when we saw this one, we knew they were gonna make another one.
Yeah.
Now, the trope that the first one can't beat the second one. I think the second one got better, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
it did get better. I think the acting got better and the story got better.
Yeah, totally.
And it was different, but we'll talk about that in another podcast.
Definitely, and we will definitely talk about that when we get to the next kind of like cluster of the two movies, which is Scream 2 from the original trilogy, and then Scream 6, which is kind of like its version of Scream 2 but modernized. But before we let you go, I did want to ask the audience a question about who your least favorite character is from Scream 2022. Your least favorite character. So give them a roast. Go on social media on liveralonepod, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Roast your least favorite Scream 2022 character. I think it's clear who Ian's least favorite character is. It's definitely Sam. But thank you so much for listening. If you like today's episode and you want to hear more from us, do us a favor. Leave us a rating or just continue listening to us. It helps so much. And tune in next Wednesday because we're going to be taking a little bit of a switch over to a new format, video games. And we're discussing one of our absolute favorite video games with one of the best on-screen adaptations to date, The Last of Us Game 1. But for now,
we'll see you in the kitchen with a knife.